Hey guys, Ryan Moody here, helping you to fish smarter and not harder. In this week's blog, we're going to have a look at hook selection. For the beginners out there, quite often they walk into a tackle shop and get a little bit bewildered by what's on the wall and what they should be using. So we're going to run through most of the popular ones today. Now first up, we're going to take a look at long shanked hooks. Any simple hook like so with longer shanks are meant for one thing. It means that you're going to present a strip bait or a fillet bait as such. So a hook like that, a nice fillet off a mullet or a garfish, just hooked on there twice actually, in and out once, either side, and that will make a fantastic little bait for foragers to come up and suck on. What I'm going to do now is just going to do a fillet bait of a mullet, which is very popular for many foraging species. So what I like to do first is just take the scales off, back of the knife, and now we're just going to take the fillet off, like you would fillet a fish normally, just behind the pectoral fin, down behind the caudal fins, and then just run the fillet off, nice and neat like that. And of course that's a very big fillet, so we put that aside for a minute, and what we're going to do, we're just going to cut these in diagonal strips, just a little bit longer than the hook, about 1.5 times the length of the hook. First I'm just going to go through the fleshy side, the wider part at the top, pull it right through, go through again, come back down and just thread it through one more time like that. And even you can go around one more time so you've got that nice fleshy side facing out, and you've still got a nice little tail hanging out the back there to flap in the breeze. And you can even get it so that you pull the eye of the hook through so that the skin comes up over the top of it, like so, and that holds it elongated as well. So that's a nice long strip bait that will flap in the breeze on the bottom. Now alternatively, while we're talking about long shank hooks, something like this is much smaller with a longer shank again, which is great to thread yabbies and peeled prawns on. For things like whiting and brim, those sort of fish. So that's what your longer shanks are meant for threading on things like prawns and that sort of stuff. And what I mean by the shank is the length of the shaft from the eye down to the bite in the hook. So it's meant for laying a bait along it. So if you don't have that, if your eye's back here further, you can't really use a strip bait. That's more for live baiting, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Now what we use for these guys is short shanked hooks, and they all have like a bite that comes around on itself, and this allows for the fish to take the bait, get stuck in the corner of the mouth as it exits, so you don't strike these fish too hard. You let the hook do the work. So that's the secret with circle hooks, or any kind of hook that's used for live baiting. This is the Carly hook we use over here as well. Very popular for our inshore species and offshore as well. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is the Tarpon pattern. These ones here, 7/7, 6/6s, are very popular for game fishing. Quite often they're used in the stomach cavity, rigged for a swimming bait, or quite often ganged together for not just using whole pilchard baits and things like that floated out in the current, but also behind wog heads where you connect a garfish on top of them for trolling and those sort of things as well. So widely used in the game fishing circuit, and I have seen people just simply use them to put a big chunk of squid on or a fillet bait as well, because they do have a reasonable size shank on there as well. So that's your 7/7, 6/6 Tarpon hooks. Okay, now if you walk into a tackle shop and you see something that looks like this, looks like the eye is the wrong way, it's running in line with the shank of the hook rather than sideways. Well, these hooks are meant for lures like poppers and stick baits. So instead of running a treble on here, you're only running a single hook. And the secret to them also is if you put them on, make sure the rear one goes in the upward position and the one underneath the belly comes down that way with the tip pointing down, not around like that. So that's important when you do mount them on these lures. They're designed so that the lures don't have so much restriction from the trebles and they get a little bit better action. And of course, if you've only got singles on there, the bite rate doesn't seem to be any worse than using trebles. It's just less chances of you getting fish hooks in you while you're handling some of these fish. So that's some of the things I like about running singles on the poppers and stick baits. Now you'll notice trebles in the tackle shop. The first thing I quite often do with any lure that I buy is go and replace the trebles and get a set of decent ones like BKKs or VMC 6x Strong. That's what we really need up here for a lot of our predators. Anything less than that just doesn't cut it. So it's always very important to upgrade your lures. And like I say, I do it every time religiously. Another hook you might see on the tackle shop wall is one of these. Now these guys are actually a weedless hook for weedless lure fishing. It means you can flick your lures into some heavier cover and get them out without them snagging up too much. The top of the hook just sits in the top of the lure like so, and it's great for top water lures like these frogs. So we don't use these for strip baits or anything like that. They are primarily meant for soft plastic lures fishing on the surface. Okay guys, well I hope I've simplified one of those things that can be quite overwhelming when you get to the tackle store. So if you enjoyed this little post and you'd like to see more, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and if you only want some tips I send out by email only, head on over to our website ryanmoodyfishing.com and sign up for free email updates. Get in the great outdoors, keep fishing smarter, and we'll see you next time.